fundamental difference between that perspective and the perspective, the approach that in too many countries the IMF has taken.
Geraldo, what we are seeing today, 3 years later, is that capital has become much more mobile. It travels freely across borders. No one asks for a passport for capital. There are no sniffing dogs to tell us if there are some drugs. I think that globalization, as it stands today, cannot continue. This does not mean that we have to close our borders. No, the problem is that each country needs to care for the interests of its own people. And if you want to globalize capital interests, you must also globalize workers' interests.
After his election victory, Lula, as he's popularly known, went to the World Social Forum in Porto Alegre in southern Brazil. With Geraldo watching, it was a big test for the former shoeshine boy who'd become president.
I'm the one who reclaimed a lot in Brazil. I asked a lot from every administration that came here before me, just as many among you ask of their country. And what I wanted by becoming the president was to be able to act upon my own beliefs.
Since Lula da Silva was elected president, Brazil's inflation rate has risen from 8% to 13%, but analysts expect it to fall in 2004. In 2004, alongside its zero hunger objective, the government launched First Employment, part of its election pledge, a new program designed to help young people get a job. But for Geraldo and many in Brazil, it is still not enough.
We pay our taxes. We should ask for more, blame more. So I think that people, my people, asks too little. I think that the struggle must be continuous.
Because Brazil's economy accounts for almost half of Latin America's total economic output, its historic relationship with international donor agencies like the IMF and World Bank hasn't always been easy. The tensions are a factor in the president's policies.
It's necessary for the IMF to adopt a language of resource distribution. It's necessary for the IMF, you know, to start to make the difference between economic investment and debt.
I think by following the sorts of policies that promote growth, the Brazilian government will have the resources to continue to service its debt. In fact, they have made substantial progress over the last 14 months since the beginning of the administration. And ultimately, if international confidence continues to come back to Brazil, the Brazilian reserves to service debt will be substantial. In fact, we've already seen the Brazilian reserves have risen substantially. Again, a vote of international confidence in Brazil. But I understand for people like Geraldo, workers in Brazil, they can be frustrated that at times it takes a while for these sorts of results that show up in economic statistics to filter to individual people and workers. But we think the signs are there that that is starting to happen, and I think 2004 will be a better year for people like Geraldo.
I don't think that the interest rates would decrease. There's a great confidence in the Lula administration, but really, I don't think that the interest rates would decrease because of confidence in the Lula administration. Because a bank is a bank. It has always been a bank. And the more the interest rates increase, the more Brazil will be in the hands of the international bankers.
Geraldo, I understand you have a question on the future of the Brazilian economy. The interest rate seems to you overestimated. Last year, the interest rate that Brazil pays externally decreased notably because of the international confidence in the Lula administration. We think it's reasonable to think that it's going to decrease more during this year, 2004.
I'm cleaning my photo camera because it's becoming dusty. I don't use it often enough. I take care of it so that it won't get ruined. I'm getting ready to take a few pictures today.
Tchau, Matheus. Tchau.
Right now, I'm doing it because I like it. But I see it as an alternative in the future. I'm sure I'll profit from this. I lived in the streets for 2 years. I didn't even have the basic necessities. It makes you feel very sad to see people living in such conditions. Very sad.
Quando entrou a globalização no país, nós começamos a perceber que realmente.
When globalization came to Brazil, we realized that we would have to do more studies, to specialize, because we realized that everything was electronics and technology.
Era na base da eletrônica, computadores, tecnologia.
So if you don't get ready, if you don't do studies, it's very difficult to enter this new globalized world. It can change. I think that people are able to change, but we do also want to have our say in this globalization.
For more information on the issues raised in this program, visit our website, tve.org/lifeonline. Over the next few weeks, Life looks at new policies on land reform, debt relief, and health and education.